So every entrepreneur has a psychological glitch in their brain that makes them chase effortless income, or at least what looks like it. And it's the same glitch that's stopping you from actually making any money online. It's not because you're lazy, it's not because you're missing a tactic, and it's not even because the algorithm hates you, but because of the way that your brain is wired from birth to crave what is easy. So easy money. And it's not your fault. Everybody's wired that way. Everybody wants to get things easily. They want to get things fast and so on. And it makes sense. Why would you want to do something the hard way when you can take the easier path that'll get you the exact same result? Well, the problem is that you don't get the same results, but YouTubers will make it look effortless, so you just listen to them more. If you've ever spent hours watching the I made 10K in 10 days or binge watch faceless AI channels thinking, this looks very easy, well then you're not missing something, and you're certainly not strange for wanting all those things. You're actually completely normal. Every creator goes through this phase. Following tips from random YouTubers thinking that they'll finally get you that freedom you always wanted. It's all part of the journey. But if it was really as easy as they made it seem, wouldn't everyone be doing it? Wouldn't everybody be rich? But the fact that it isn't as easy as you think shouldn't make you feel bad and shouldn't want you to quit. It actually means that there isn't going to be as much competition as you thought. It has genuinely never been harder to become rich, but it's also never been easier to become rich. Because unlike years ago, you now have the internet, right? You have social media platforms like YouTube, which can make you loads of money, which means you don't have to own your own business or create the next big thing to become rich. You just have to have a personal brand, learn a skill, or create a YouTube channel without showing your face. But with that said, it's also never been harder because the new currency isn't actually money, it's attention. You need to get people to pay attention without them getting distracted every 5 seconds. And a way you can do that is by leveraging the same psychological glitch that we talked about before. When you actually think about it, you'll realize that you are stuck in this endless loop. You want freedom. You think money is going to get you that freedom. You want money to actually start living life at its fullest. And then you want your job, and then you want to help your family escape your job and live life on your own terms. And because that dream is so emotional and you want it with all of your might, your brain searches for the fastest possible path to achieve that dream life. Not the best path and definitely not the real path, but the fastest one. And that's where the automation fantasy hijacks you, or at least where YouTubers will get you, because they know this and they don't want to leverage it. And they make promises that they just can't maintain, giving you false statements and false hope. And unfortunately, some people fall for it, not because they're dumb, but because these people are really good at what they do. But now that you know about it, you should be able to notice some of the habits that you have that are related to this psychological glitch. And you can start fixing the problems that this gives you and actually start improving on it. But before I tell you how to leverage this for your own videos, you need to understand that there are 3 psychological triggers that make you crave easy money. The first trigger is safety. Your brain hates risk. And if you can get the result, but in a safer way, you'll choose the safest path. But unfortunately, it sees effort as danger. For example, if you were on your bed all day and you were told to get up and do some work, you'd probably not want to do it because you prefer to stay in bed. I mean, it feels better, right? So it makes sense. It's as if working was actually dangerous to you because you know that doing some deep work requires failing over and over again. And it also requires work, which is painful. And that's what brings us to the main point of this section. The more something looks effortless, the safer it feels. This is what they call the monkey brain. Your monkey brain would much rather scroll on Instagram for 3 hours instead of doing some deep work, because actually putting in the reps, creating the videos, and finding ideas, even with using AI, is way more painful than just doom scrolling. But if your monkey brain was the only thing that guided you, you probably wouldn't be watching this video. You would have done anything else that requires a lot less effort. But this is where the logical part of your brain comes in. The part that realizes that, well, maybe scrolling for 3 hours a day will not actually get you anywhere. So it helps you get back on track and actually do some work, but that's not always the case. Why? Well, unfortunately, your monkey brain is much stronger than your logical brain is. And this is where you come into play. You have to be the one to realize that maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't doom scroll. You should be creating videos. You should be writing scripts. You should be finding ideas. So the next time you catch yourself doom scrolling or get distracted, remind yourself of this and actually do some work. Don't worry, because only the first couple times will be harder. Over and over again, after that, the logical part of your brain will start to get stronger and stronger. It actually is a muscle you can work on, which means working and being disciplined will get easier and easier. And once you nail this down, you'll be able to actually find working enjoyable, and you'll start getting distracted a lot less frequently. Now, the second trigger is identity. You want success, but you don't see yourself as someone who can earn it. No matter how much you think you do, you just don't believe it. This is because you act as the person you are right now, who is still driven by the monkey brain and hasn't made any money online yet. You haven't achieved that dream of financial freedom. That's the problem. You are acting accordingly to who you are now, but the current you isn't where you want to be in life. And you already know how that person thinks. You know the right decisions you need to make. You know the habits you need to have, but you aren't following any of them. And you haven't done so in a while. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. You need to start acting now how the dream version of you that's living that dream life would act. You essentially need to change your identity. Start viewing yourself as that person and just ask yourself, how would the best version of me act in this current situation? What would I do? What strategies would I apply? What are my daily actions? What are my habits? To become the best version of you who is living your dream life, you need to start thinking like them and acting like them. The best way is just to visualize. Visualize yourself in 1 year from now, making that $10,000 or $30,000 a month, having your dream house, your dream car, and so on. And once you're done with that, start by setting some goals. Bigger goals, such as, getting to 10K a month, buying a house, buying a car, getting to your first 100,000 subscribers, and then some smaller micro goals, such as posting a video every day, staying consistent, writing scripts for future videos, and so on and so forth. If you don't start thinking like your successful self, you'll be stuck in the same loop that has imprisoned you for so long. The one where you chase what's easy, not what's real. All right, now the third trigger is dopamine. Your brain rewards the idea of success more than the work that it takes to succeed. Thinking about winning feels way better than slowly building. That's why passive income videos hit like candy. And creators know this, which is why we get so many of these get-rich-quick schemes, but most of them never have anything to show for it because they don't have real testimonies, no proof, just words, right? They make it sound easy. So you get that dopamine surge and it feels like they are right because you want them to be deep down, right? But you know they aren't. You know it's very rare to get rich fast. Your monkey brain, together with dopamine, makes you procrastinate and then makes you do things you probably shouldn't be doing because at the time it makes you feel happy. But that feeling of happiness that you want to feel right now will lead to your imminent failure. And you need to get rid of it, once again, with logic. Ask yourself, what would make you happier long-term? To play video games and watch videos for hours and hours every single day? Or actually start that channel and make some money and be able to retire your parents? The answer is probably the second one. And if that's the case, you need to start building discipline. Become accountable for your actions. And if you can't do that, try and find someone who can help you. That way, you'll start noticing all the bad habits you actually have and start fixing them. So now let's talk about the pressing question. How do you use this throughout your videos? Well, there's two ways. As I mentioned before, wanting to do things easy is something everybody wants, not just you. Every human being will choose the easier path if it gets some similar results. So this is how you can leverage it. Whenever possible, make your titles present easy mechanisms. Like talk about how easy it is to achieve that goal. Here's two videos that I know that are absolutely crushing this. Tricking your brain into craving hard work is easy, and change your life one tiny step at a time. So just like how these two videos did it, they literally spell it out for you, using the word easy to make you think that it is indeed easier, but how you actually do this, right? So let's quickly talk about simplicity theory. This principle suggests that people have natural biases towards simplicity, and they prefer experiences that minimize cognitive load. A simple layman's translation for that is, we want stuff to be as easy as possible, and there has to be many ways to hit that easy emotion. For example, reducing the time period. You can mention stuff like, in only 6 weeks, ... or all of this by ... or pushing buttons for 15 minutes a day. Or you could focus on things like reducing the work needed. For example, like a done for you, or step-by-step, or a blueprint. Or you can do insert action without insert thing they hate, right? Or you could focus on reducing the intellect needed. For example, high school dropouts are making money with this. Anybody can do this. You don't have to be a financial expert. Or you could focus on reducing the resources that are required. For example, only $97. Or you don't even have to have a degree, right? Stuff like that. Or for example, reducing the chance of it, right? Maybe leaning into the luck. For example, you don't need to have elite genetics. You don't need to have a 160 IQ score. You see where I'm going with this, right? And here's some of the commonly used words to make things sound easy, or anybody, or simple, or foolproof, step-by-step, and systems, or you don't need, or all you have to do is, or you don't have to be ... and so on and so forth. By saying things like step-by-step or one step at a time, your viewers will think that they can just follow a blueprint and do things slowly, which makes it easier, since then they don't have to figure it out themselves. You already did it for them. As we said previously, you can make people feel as if what you are saying is easy by making them feel safe. This leads to something else which is known as the risk aversion theory. The theory describes the human tendency to prefer a sure, lower outcome over a gamble with a potentially higher payoff, but also a chance of loss. In other words, people prioritize not losing over winning. There's a study that showed that people were much more willing to walk 2 miles to retrieve money that they had lost than they were to walk 2 miles to gain the same amount of money. The main way to push the safe emotion is to highlight how sure the opportunity actually is. Show how it's predictable by following the same pattern as the previous time. Things like always having the same style for your videos or always having the same voice tone. This will make people feel familiar with you, and so they will feel safer. And if you want to make people feel safe about what you're saying, you have to increase the perceived likelihood of achievement. You have to make what you're saying or selling or talking about feel as safe as it can possibly be. This way, they can have certainty that they'll get that result. You could do this by showing some results. Some examples you can use are collaborated with insert big name, or history is repeating itself, or just having a large audience, right? But before we go on to the second way you can leverage this, there's one last thing I need you to know. If you only make your strategies look easy, you'll get views, but you won't get subscribers. This is because even if it's easy to apply your strategies or your blueprint or your template, it actually has to work to make it valuable. Think about it like this. If somebody gives you this new way of making money, which looks easy, but once you apply it, it doesn't actually get any results, you probably not watch any other videos from that person, since they scammed you of your time the first time you watched their videos. The same goes for your viewers. If your strategies look flawless and easy, and you make them sound like they actually work, but they don't, people will probably not watch other videos from you, which is why you have to make strategies that work in order to transform your viewers into subscribers and actually start monetizing your content. All right, now that you know about the monkey brain, identity, and dopamine, and you know how to fix these problems for yourself, you should probably start implementing them. And you can start that by optimizing your channel. If you already have a channel, every single time you post your videos, you should work on iterating them. Check the analytics, find out where your viewers are dropping off, and figure out how you can fix it. Always attempt multiple thumbnails and titles for the same video and see which one works best. In other words, don't just be lazy and pick the easy path. You need to do the things that actually matter, the actions that'll get you closer to your goals and further. And you do that with your channel by optimizing. So let's have a very serious and quick talk about optimizing on YouTube and why it truly matters, because there are two main reasons. First, a lot of people think that because you can get away without optimizing for a while, and sure, you'd be right. If you completely own your niche, you might get away with a couple bad habits for a while, but that doesn't mean that you're building a strong foundation, nor are you keeping your audience engaged long term. Once again, if you make your videos look like there's value in them, but actually there's none, they will not keep watching your videos for too long. The main point of optimization is simple. You're trying to make your content more appealing and enjoyable for the people who already watch you, and for the ones who are watching your videos for the first time. The more your audience actually enjoys watching your content, the more likely YouTube will keep recommending it, even if their interests change over time. Because remember guys, people don't just have one interest, they have multiple. So even within your niche, you are still competing with every other thing that they find interesting, not just your thumbnails and not just your titles, but during your entire video. The second thing is that even if you are the first person to dominate a niche, others will eventually enter it. And sometimes it takes just one new creator to stumble into something that works, and suddenly you become second, and then third, fourth, fifth, and so on. You'll fall behind, and that's why optimizing early matters, because it protects you from being outperformed by newcomers who might even just by luck do something better. Easier it is to make content in your niche, the lower the barrier for entry, and the more likely it is that other people will show up. In the end, I'm not here to tell anyone that they must do something. You must optimize. That's a personal choice. But I always ask people this question. If you're not optimizing, do you actually care about your content staying relevant? Optimization doesn't just mean coming up with better ideas than others. It shows up in the smaller details. How do your videos look? How does your authenticity come across? And how well do you do to fix small retention drops once you notice them in your analytics, for example? Optimization will take many forms, but if you ignore it, your career on YouTube will fall apart. And I'm not telling you this because I want you to feel bad about not optimizing earlier or anything like that, but I want you to realize that if everybody wants things to be easy And I'm not telling you this because I want you to feel bad about not optimizing or anything like that, but because I want you to realize that everybody wants things to be easy. And if you do the hard things, the consistent actions, you will be better than them in every single way. And of course, you'll get way better results. And entrepreneurship isn't this linear game. If you put 3 times the amount of work than somebody else is putting in, you will not get 3 times the results. You will get 30 times the results that they are having. And if you want help building that system, I have a free community with over 11,000 people doing the same thing. They have the same goals, the same problems and desires, and I help them fix it and improve everything that they need. But no pressure. If you're not ready for that, just go ahead and watch the next video on how faceless creators build trust. This video here will make everything click. See you there.